everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning fan show. Happy Tuesday to you. It is the start of the fan show week, which what a beautiful week it is. Not only is it the start of this week, the fan show week, it's the start of a regular week because, well, I mean, apologies to those of you that don't get Memorial Day off. If you did, you had a lovely 3-day weekend, long overdue, but much needed. I had one myself, and so it was pretty much, I'm a fan of the idea that we go ahead and we do 4 10s and we have a 3-day weekend. That would be like my ideal setup as far as like the Joe jobs out there. Forget being open 5 days a week and having these business hours. I mean, I love how bank hours is the term, and the one place that you need open later, like different hours, is a freaking bank. But anyway, I digress. My point is that a 3-day weekend is awesome because you have the day one, which was Saturday, and that's your sleep-in day. That's your I'm going to get up slowly. I might put pants on today. I might not. We'll see how 3 o'clock looks. And you just sort of get a bowl of cereal, and you catch up on whatever you may have missed from that week. News, Netflix, TV shows, whatever. That's Saturday. Saturday can also be, your wake up at 10, get up and go out and have fun, be active day. That's fine, too. Then Sunday, maybe that's your be lazy day, easy like Sunday morning. You get up, you go to church, maybe you don't, have a bowl of cereal, you get caught up on Netflix, your shows, or maybe that's your be active day after church or after whatever it is that you do in the morning. Maybe you have a Sunday brunch and you go out and you enjoy the sunshine, fishing, hiking, whatever. I mean, up here in the Northwest, we do not take these weekends for granted because we don't get a lot of them. And then the Monday is the holiday, okay? But I'm saying if we made this a regular thing, Monday would no longer be the holiday. It would just be the third day of the weekend. And so that's the day that you get the chores done, that you get your dishes, your laundry, your whatever else ready. You prep for the next week because you're not having to cram that into your second day. Like, it doesn't have to feel like it's such a busy thing to have a weekend, to have a 2-day weekend where it's like, if I don't go and do all this stuff Saturday and get all this stuff done Sunday, it's like I feel like a failure and that I've accomplished nothing. And that, I think, is why the 3-day weekend sounds like a true winner, because you can do whatever you want Saturday or Sunday, and then Monday can be that much-needed prep day. So you can have a day that isn't engulfed in laundry and chores and spring cleaning and whatever else that you had to do, and you couldn't go-kart racing or out on the lake or whatever. You have a day for each thing. You have a day to be lazy, a day for activities, and a day for prep for the next week. I think that's the American dream. Why are we not doing 3-day weekends and 4-day work weeks when everybody that I've talked to, everybody that does 4 10s and has a 3-day weekend, they're like, yeah, we should have done this decades ago. So that's my vote. The fan show week is still like my preferred method of calendar, which is, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you have something Friday or Saturday. Of course, a lot of travel is involved, but a lot of fun nonetheless. So if you're a fan of either of those, we should start the movement. All right, let's start the 3-day weekend, 4-day work week movement. Banks are still going to be open after hours because, let's face it, we're still going to need that because if we're working longer and they're still open the same 9 to 5 hours, then we're going to need that to change. But anyway, it was a great weekend. Let's not forget what yesterday was about. I talked about it on Thursday's episode. It was Memorial Day. Those that we have lost, that we remember, we never forget, that either served and lived to tell about it or paid the ultimate price with the ultimate sacrifice. And it was it's always beautiful up on Greenwood Memorial Terrace, where my grandmother and grandfather are buried together in the veterans display wall. And there were some flags missing. The groundskeeper was kind enough to get me some flags to put up along there, and it's just gorgeous what they do with it. They put up all these flags all along the different pathways. People were up there putting flowers and having their moments with lost loved ones, and I love it. I really do. Not bad for a piece of cloth, right? That's what some people refer to the flag as, but it's so much more than that. What is it that Batman says in The Dark Knight that I feel is more relevant now than in any other time when it comes to just what the flag is. Let's see here. What did I recently search for on here? Let's see. Batman Begins quote. It is the one that says, as you know, people need dramatic examples to shake them up out of apathy. As a man, I'm flesh and blood. I can be ignored. I can be destroyed. But as a symbol, I can be incorruptible. I can be everlasting. That's what the flag is. It's not a piece of cloth. It's a symbol. It's incorruptible. It's everlasting. It is what you make it. And so I understand why people get upset when people feel that others have disrespected it, because you're disrespecting what that symbol means. Now, I don't mean to go off on a side road here about what the policy means, because I think that's something completely different. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. But like, this is where your hot button trigger topic has come up as far as why so many people are so upset about their method of protest being what it is, where it is because the flag is not a piece of cloth. The flag is a symbol, and what it represents is different to every single American or every single resident of this country. And you can't ever forget that, because it may be cloth stitched in red, white, and blue, but it is a symbol for so many, and for a lot, a positive thing and not a negative thing. So life is what you make it. The symbol is what you believe it to be. And that's my little thing on that. Now, the rest of the weekend was great. We had Brad Williams on, comedian, all 4 feet nothing of him on the show, and it was a lot of fun. If you missed that episode, please go back and listen to it. It was so much fun. Loved having him back. The second time around with him and Steve Ranazzisi have been so much fun, simply because it's been one of those situations where we know each other now, right? Like, we're not BFFs. We're not texting each other late at night like, what are you wearing? It's more so of we're just having fun now. Like, we get it. We know what each other is going to ask, and what each other, like, we talked about our wives and stuff. It's so much fun. So much fun. My wife hated it, but it was a lot of fun. And in other news, we had a great weekend of sports. I mean, probably the best weekend of sports that you can have without like an NFL primetime game, and even that's going to be very questionable moving forward. We had the stage set for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I believe I mentioned that Thursday it would be the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Washington Capitals. And then they played their game 1, and Vegas leads after a 6-4 win. They lead the series 1-0. This story just gets better and better as the time goes on. For the NBA, the stage is set again. Warriors and Cavs. Again. That's like 4 in a row now. Great job, NBA. I know that there have been dynasties and powerhouses before, but can we please do our best to try to make at least the NBA not such a repeat league? The NFL has the draft and the salary cap and everything. They try to put things in place to make sure that we don't see the same matchups each year, that we're doing our best to put those bottom teams into a better place. But you can't deny great coaching. You can't deny great plays or players, things like that. Obviously, see Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But still, it's like, that's half the equation. A friend of mine came at me, he's like, I bet you were real upset when the 49ers went to all those Super Bowls. Okay, that, half of those happened before I was born. The other, I don't even remember. The Steve Young one would have been the one that I do remember, and I don't. So, to me, that's all just ancient history, which a lot of people will say that it is. And, for them to bring that up, it's like, yes, they went to the Super Bowl several times. However, they faced different opponents. The only opponent that they faced twice was the Bengals, and it wasn't even back-to-back years. If the Bills had gone to the Super Bowl against the same opponent those 4 years in a row, I feel like fans and non-fans alike would have gotten just as tired of seeing that. I really do. I mean, okay, you love your team winning. You do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's over and over, it has to become mundane at some point. And I know for the players, they'll tell you firsthand, it never gets old winning championships. And I'm sure that's the same for a lot of fan bases. But you can't get mad at fans of every other team that are sick and tired of seeing your teams in the thing. And for the NFL, I get it. If you want to be the team, then quit losing to our team. Okay, and the NFL has put in stuff to see that is a possibility. Obviously, look at the the turnover for playoff teams over the last couple of years. The NFC has seen many different teams in its spotlight. The AFC more so the same. But they have played the financial game very, very well. That's one thing that Belichick and Tomlin and the rest of the guys over there do very well is that they hold on to their good players and then they refresh their not so great ones, and they make diamonds out of coal. They really have. You can't get around that. But for the NBA, it's like any team can be a powerhouse with one, just one player, and two, it's a matter of like, hey, we're like playoff bound. Do you want to come over here? Your contract is up and you don't want to renew. Yeah. I'm Kevin Durant. I'd love to go to the Warriors and win a ring because I couldn't do so in Oklahoma. It's just there needs to be things against that type of movement. So I'd say hop on the playoff hockey bandwagon right now because this is where it's at, man. Vegas Golden Knights, Washington Capitals. If you're a football fan, though, the NAL is about midway through its season. We saw the Jacksonville Sharks topple the Massachusetts Pirates in a thriller, 47-42. Pirates lose for the first time at home all season. That was a fantastic game. Sharks are now on, I believe, a 3-game winning streak and could be climbing the ranks. We'll see what Power Rankings Day has to say about that tomorrow. And in the Indoor Football League, the Arizona Rattlers won once again. They defeated the Nebraska Danger. It was a great game starting out, and then the Rattlers kind of ran off with it in the fourth quarter. And we also had the Barnstormers just obliterate the Blizzard. And I love the guys on both teams. I don't use the word obliterate lightly, but it was very close in the first quarter. But that was the first quarter. The Barnstormers ran away with it. 41-14 is your final from Des Moines, Iowa. And I love it. We've got, I think, 3 games, or 3 weeks technically left. We've got this week, which is huge for the Iowa Barnstormers. They will host the Rattlers. They will play them the 3rd time this season. In Iowa is the first place that they beat Arizona. They are 2-0 over Arizona. They would hold the tiebreaker even if Arizona wins. However, if they win this, it pretty much is a done deal because then they would play Sioux Falls, and I don't even think that matters at that point because then we're talking playoffs. Sioux Falls has one more game after that. Iowa has one more game. So this game, although it means little in regards to home field advantage, means everything to getting it done and getting it done now. And we're going to talk about that with the voice of the Barnstormers, Joe Stacey. He's joining me tonight. Jose Bahena is from the National Arena League. He's a beat writer for the Carolina Cobras. He's going to join me as well, speaking of which, that's our time to go ahead and do that. Did I even do the headlines play thing? I don't think I did. I think I just charged headfirst into what the headlines are and forgot to hit the button. But don't forget, headlines, of course, this month are brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. Hit up Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com to customize your world. If you dream it, if you draw it, you can do it. You can put your logo or artwork on it. From stickers, banners, coasters, foam fingers, shirts, hats, lanyards as well, which would have been great to have for Comic-Con now that I think about it. Damn, should have done it. But don't be like me. Go out and do it. Hit him up. He's going to cut you a deal because the fan show told you to go to him, and we have a great working relationship. He always loves seeing everything that I'm out and doing, and I love going to his shop, seeing all the work that he's been doing, and he's a busy man. So best get on it now before it's too late, before he's too swamped with other orders. So go and hit up Dynamite Enterprises and customize your world. With that, we will be right back with more of the fan show and my first guest of the night, right after this. You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo. Like Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Joining me from the National Arena League, the beautiful state of Carolina, it is Jose Bahena, and he is the master of coverage for the Carolina Cobras. Jose, welcome to the program.
How's it going, man? You doing all right tonight?
I'm doing good. I think, it's been a busy week. I think it's, obviously the Roseanne getting canceled, I'm really taking that hard. And by taking it hard, I mean I'm not taking it hard at all. But no, pretty decent little Tuesday.
All right, yeah, I just heard about that actually, and I'm shocked actually, to be honest.
It goes to show you that how important the golden rule is that if you can't keep your thoughts to yourself, you need to delete all forms of social media that you have. Like, if she would have gone out to the bar and said something like that, or out in a crowd, like, I doubt there's anyone around that can work their camera phone fast enough to get her on video saying something like that. It would have been her word versus everybody else's. But a tweet, if you put it online, it's forever. Plain and simple, especially if you're famous.
Trail.
What?
I said digital paper trails.
Oh man, it's so bad. So yeah, if you like can't keep it in, if you have to blurt things out, like, you just need to delete all your social media. Like, that would be my number one word of advice to people is, like, go and delete your Twitter, your Facebook, like everything, and just, like, if you want to text with your buddies back and forth who understand your humor and get your jokes, more power to you. Yeah, they can hack phones, but unless you're, like, screenshotting your conversations, which I don't know who's stupid enough to do that, you just need to, take a page out of Dave Chappelle's book and just disappear for a little bit. Like, that's pretty much all you can do. But how are things in Carolina? Because, I mean, that is sort of the whole point of this conversation, is that we are about midway through the NAL season. We saw a great matchup. I mean, it's been a lot of really good football. Unless you're a fan of the Steelhawks, then it hasn't been a lot of really good football. But if you're literally a fan of any other team, it's been a lot of really good football lately. And this weekend there was just the one game, but 47-42, Sharks over the Pirates. I mean, if you go back a week, you had the thriller with Carolina, and then the Pirates again. That's a nice little rivalry building up. You've got the Lions that seem to be the team that hasn't quite proven enough, but proven just enough that they are right there in the mix of things. And the Sharks are now on a winning streak after being on a losing streak. So your progress report for the National Arena League as of about the midway point of the season.
Well, to be honest, the way I have to look at this is that it's just an incredibly competitive league, honestly, top to bottom. Like we said, if Lehigh Valley just had a down year, which we really expected that to happen after losing Warren Smith Jr., Under Hendricks left that team. Like I said, we didn't expect it to go any other way, really, for Lehigh Valley. But like I said, as far as Columbus, Carolina, Jacksonville, Massachusetts, Maine, like I said, you have a really close league, and that's great in these smaller leagues that have, a 16 league. You need to have everyone to be competitive. Yeah, I completely agree. And like you just said, the way that Massachusetts has been playing is fantastic. The Cobras have looked good, and you're right. The Sharks seem to have, I don't know why, but no one seems to believe in the Sharks other than believe in the Lions other than the Lions fans. That's, for some reason, they just haven't proved it enough, like you said.
Well, and for me, it goes back to their strength of schedule. So they've played the least amount of any team in the league, which is one thing that stands out to me. But secondly, 2 of their 4 wins, so half of their wins, have come to Lehigh Valley Steelhawks, which, as we just got done saying, is not the best source of measurement for how well your team is doing if you beat them, because Carolina beat the tar out of them up and down the field for 4 quarters straight. And I believe that Massachusetts is the only loss for Carolina, and then Columbus is half of Carolina's losses. So, it's that age-old saying, like, who's better than who when everybody's beat everybody, right? You have Jacksonville, who beat Carolina, who's beat Massachusetts, who beat Columbus, who's beat Jacksonville, right? Like, that's where we're at in this season. And I feel like Maine is going to get better. I don't think they're out of it yet, but they have their work cut out for them, obviously. But I do not believe that there is a clear front runner in this league. And as much as I love that, it also creates a lot of chaos just because, there's going to be some discussion had as far as, is Carolina the best? Is Mass the best? Is Columbus the best? Or is Jacksonville still the best? Because, they have as many wins as the other 2 best teams that have played that many, but yet they went on a 3-game skid, and now they're on a 3-game win streak. So it's really hard to gauge, and a lot of that really does excite me for the rest of the season.
It really does, actually, and the Sharks actually are now on a 4-game winning streak now.
Oh, are they?
Yep, they're actually. That's impressive. They, like you said, they were down 3 games straight and have now turned around and are up 4 games straight. So, like I said, you can't count anyone out in this league, and that's what's most impressive to me.
Now, if you had to pick the teams that you feel could stand the test of attrition, so you're looking at not only their starters but their backups, like the guys that have gotten out there on the field to play, a series or a few snaps, or maybe in the absence of other players, because this is one of those leagues, like its sister leagues in the IFL and the AFL, that their players will come and go because they'll get invited to camps, or they'll get invited to go and train here or try out here. And so you can lose a guy for a game or a couple of weeks, and so then your depth, your roster is truly tested. So if you had to pick 2 teams that could really stand the test of time, being a whole season, barring, even with a quarterback loss or a wide receiver, God forbid, a lineman, who would you pick to be the most well-equipped, deep team on their roster?
Well, as far as roster goes, I think the team that can be spread the thinnest, and they've proven it, is the Jacksonville Sharks, because they've gone through 3 different quarterbacks. Of course, they lost Tommy Grady 5 days before the season started, so that's going to put them in a scramble mode. And like we said, they've really bounced back despite the fact that they've lost so many key players for them.
Yeah, and I will agree with you on that. They've obviously had the most adversity to overcome as far as the key skill position players go. Your leadership of all things, your quarterback. But they have Ross, and as long as he keeps pounding the rock, we're talking about a 50-yard field instead of a 100-yard field. So the idea of the running back getting 90% of the workload is not unheard of, and it's not quite the astonishing stat that you may think when compared to like an NFL or a CFL, but I do think that their line has been very good. Obviously, his role in being able to be relied on to pound the rock, and then their quarterback play as well. His game and what he does in each game takes, in turn, pressure off the quarterback because their run game is so strong. For me, you're right there in Carolina, and this is a team that its defense has been fantastic. They've had all the games that they've lost have come down to the final moments of the game, and I think have been both were by less than 5 points, if that, for Carolina. And just to have them be as good as they are on the offense without having a steady running game like that is really something. And they've had a few different receivers out there. Clearly, their MVP is Charles McCollum. But, there's something special in Carolina, and I think it starts with their defense. And their losses, the 2 losses, could have gone either way. Their wins, though, of course, have been close as well, with the exception of them against the Steelhawks. But I think they're right there in the mix as far as the team that can be spread the thinnest as well.
Carolina's they've relied heavily on that chemistry that they've had. I've heard Coach Billy Back say that over and over again, that the offensive chemistry they have between Laughing House and Charles McCullum, Jordan Jolly, like I said, that's a hard thing to beat. And they've really lived up to that on the offense. But, yeah, their defense has really came in strong. And Jermaine Jones is another one of those players who actually switched early on in the season from playing wide receiver to playing a defensive back position. And I've been marvelously impressed with him. He's actually the player that came up with the fumble recovery to add a couple points when Carolina was down 20 points against Massachusetts.
Yeah, and Massachusetts lost their first one at home to the Sharks. Sharks clearly trying to make a statement at this point in the season that they may have been down, but definitely not out. So the top four, right now it feels like a 4-team race until we get more out of Maine and we see if something's going to happen in Lehigh Valley. But I'm fine with a 4-team race, especially a 4-team race that is this close. Columbus, I feel the only thing hurting them is their sample size. I'd like to see them get a win against really any of the other three, just because their only loss was to Massachusetts, but they did beat Carolina. They have beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville may help their stock because now they're on a winning streak as well, but you can't help but look back and think, well, they beat a team that was right at the beginning of their 3-game losing streak, so how good were they really? So if they were to beat Carolina or Massachusetts in the next few weeks, I think that would be a good measurement for them. They get the Sharks again, which will be probably a better sample than what we had their first go-around. But for you, is there a dream matchup that you have for this year's NAL championship?
Honestly, I feel like at this point for me, I want the Cobras to be there. I'd like the NAL championship to be in Greensboro again. That would be where I want it at. But I really think at this point I'm kind of looking towards, like you said, the leader of the pack, the Columbus Lions and the Carolina Cobras. I think that would be another fantastic matchup. And at this point, with the Cobras only have played in Columbus so far, like I said, that's sort of a sore spot, I think, kind of a little bit of a black eye for the Cobras. So they're wanting to get that back, and I think that would just be a fantastic championship matchup.
Yeah, I think it would be too. I think out of any of the four, there wouldn't be really a bad matchup as far as any combination of those four. I think if you have Massachusetts and Carolina, I mean, especially with we still have a whole other half of the season left for this rivalry to play out. And they're going to be playing in Massachusetts the next go-around, so that should really be something. But, I mean, if you do Sharks and Carolina, that's been a great matchup so far. If you do the Pirates and Lions, maybe that would be a great one as well. Carolina and Massachusetts, or Jacksonville and Columbus again. I just think you're going to get the best quality product really from any combination of these four. Now, there's a lot that could transpire between now and the end of the season, but hopefully things stay the course and they're steady, and we can get the best quality out of all four of these teams. Out of all six of these teams, really, that would really shake things up if the Steelhawks and the Mammoths started to really, get their feet under them and maybe play spoiler for some of these other teams as far as their seeding goes. But that would be the most exciting finish for me in my mind.
Absolutely. I think Maine, like you said, I think they have so many talented players and pieces that I am just waiting. I think it's any day it's just going to take off for them. I really believe that. Like, it's cliche to hear, but I really believe that they're better than their record.
Who's your MVP of the league?
Of the league at the moment, I really think I would have to go with Mason Espinoza. He's been rather surprising for me, just overall as a quarterback, the limited amount of interceptions he's thrown, and really just the way that he stepped up, especially compared to the way that he played last year.
Yeah, I that's a tough one to argue. What about your midseason coach of the year?
Midseason coach of the year, that's, I think I'd have to say that I think Billy Back would be my midseason head coach of the year, coming in as a first-year team and really flexing some muscle over here in Greensboro, to be honest.
See, and I love Coach Back, and I know that if he hears this, I'm going to get a DM later, be like, what the hell? But I can't pick him for the reason that, it's like the Carolina Cobras are a reincarnation, a recycling of the Wichita Falls Nighthawks. So that chemistry that you talked about, yes, it is great, but it's not like it came up for the first time ever this season. For me, I almost have to say Amir Ishmael for the fact that he is new to the league. He's a new head coach. He had a head coaching stint last year for the Bloomington Edge. And yeah, he has coached several of his players that he has, but he took a year off from them and not in the head coaching capacity that he is now. And so for him to take the reins after just 1 year of a new expansion team and getting some of his players back that he had previously coached with, and then a majority of new faces from different places, I think what he's been able to do there in Massachusetts has been incredible.
I can't argue that at all, to be honest.
Well, it's going to be a hell of a finish to the rest of the season. I look forward to all of it. I have not really been at all disappointed with the product that I've seen. More wins, more hits than misses for sure. If you were doing a greatest hits compilation, it would be a majority of the season for the NAL. So very excited to see what we've got, and very excited to see what the future holds for the rest of the league. But always a pleasure to talk to you. It was great getting to hang out with you down in Greensboro, and hopefully, if the championship is there, then that's where I will see you next. Otherwise, wherever the championship is, I hope you make it out there, because championships are always a lot of fun, especially to get together with different folks from around the league and hang out and have a good time. No one wins and no one loses. It's just a great game. So I will talk to you later on. But, hey, tell everyone I said hello, and we'll talk to you again, Jose.
All right. Thank you for your time, Rick. All right, man. Hope that I do see you again at the championship, and maybe it will be here in Greensboro.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's a good spot. You take care.
Thanks.
That was Jose Bahena, and that was a lot of fun. Great talking National Arena League football, because I think that there is something special going on there. And I also think there's something special going on here in Spokane with Praxis Co-working. Have you guys thought about co-working? If you're in the Spokane area, you should have, because they are awesome. Praxis Co-working is where you can go and be yourself at work. Been talking about them all month long. I mean it when I say it. These guys celebrate entrepreneurs. I should know. I'm one of them. And I just can't say enough positive things about these guys, because really, it comes down to the fact that if you want to be yourself at work, if you want to have your own working space, you need to hit up Praxis, okay? Robbie, phenomenal individual, human being all around, ROBBI at praxiscoworking.com. You need to reach out. You need to say, hey, I heard about you on the Fan Show. Let's get this co-working thing going, because they want to encourage you. They want to work together with you. They want to create the best possible work life for you. And that's what I think is the most special thing about Praxis Co-working, is that they are there to help you live a better day-to-day work life, right? I mean, casual Friday, imagine having that feeling every day. Your lazy Saturday, your lazy Sunday, you can have that too if you want by co-working. Space is limited, but that 3,500 square feet spot that they've got is primo. When I say I've been there, and we've had a little soiree for the awards ceremony. It was a lot of fun. Great location in downtown, and I say that knowing that there's a lot of sketchy places in downtown Spokane, but 157 South Howard Street in downtown Spokane. They've got the Rocket Bakery in the bottom floor, so it's a great coffee shop, or a little if you need to grab some grub to get you through your day. That's the place to do it. They've got awesome parking options, and they're a 9-minute walk from River Park Square. So it is a great location all around. It's something that you definitely want to take advantage of. They're offering monthly plans, monthly commitments, but they're also offering specials if you can commit to more than just 1 month. I think 3 is the magic number right now, but don't take my word for it. Go down and see for yourself. Take a tour. Say, hey, Robbie, let's take a tour. Okay. And it's that simple. That's what Praxis Co-working is. Be yourself at work with Praxis Co-working. And when I come back, Joe Stacy, and he means business, right after this. You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's the F.A.N. Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It was like that scene in The Simpsons. Like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. He is Joe. He is the voice of the Barnstormers, and he means business. Welcome back, Joe Stacey. It's been too long, my friend.
It's always a pleasure to visit with you, Richard, whether it's in person, within the arenas that you travel. Of course, we like seeing you here in Des Moines at Wells Fargo Arena. And always a pleasure to be on your show.
Can I just say that was probably one of my favorite moments on any tour? One, putting the face to the name to the voice and getting able to, the privilege to shake your hand, to have you on the pregame, and then just, really just have sort of a very relaxed, very fun, soiree before the game. And then, of course, during the game, what an incredible game that was. And then, wouldn't you know it, they went and did it again in Arizona. But hands down, one of my favorite moments from this tour, really any tour. And I thank you and everybody that's part of the Barnstormers organization for how well I've been treated since, coming out there and seeing some Barnstormer football.
Yeah, it's a great arena, as you well know, and it's one of the best facilities in the country to watch an indoor football game. And as you know, the fans are terrific, and they're just like friends that you've had for a lifetime. They've never met a stranger, and they certainly, I know a lot of them, as do I, when time allows, pop in and check out your show, and you're doing a terrific job.
Well, Joe, I had Mr. Pettit on last week, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no arguing. You are the best voice in the IFL, and we both said that with great confidence. To hear something like that from the man, the legend that is John Pettit, the GM of the Barnstormers, I mean, do you feel like you have lived up to your own level of expectation for how you call these Barnstormer games?
You know what? First of all, for anybody to say you're the best at anything in any league, it doesn't matter if it's a high school league or, NCAA Division 1, 2, or 3, or in the indoor football league. I certainly appreciate it, but that's coming from John Pettit. That does mean a lot. He has been around. His resume. In Detroit and MLB. He's in the National Hockey League. He's was just in his point in his life and career where, he's always been in love with the indoor game, and brought him and his beautiful family to Des Moines, and he liked Des Moines, and so we get to keep him, and that's really nice that you guys have talked that way. But no, you know what? My expectations are to be, I believe in the 6 Ps, in the prior, proper, preparation, prevents poor performance. And you're just, as I sit right here talking to you tonight, I'm at my kitchen table, and I've got all my notes in front of me. I've got all my game notes from last week and some stats, and just whatever. So it's just about being prepared. And as far as going back and listening to my broadcasts, I don't do that a whole lot anymore. After 21 years of doing it, you've pretty much honed your craft to where you pretty much have a good feeling about every broadcast that you do. But I get to do it on a radio station that is a 50,000 watt blowtorch, which is in this area it's known as the Ronald Reagan station, News Radio 1040 WHO. So it reaches the entire state of Iowa and the Midwest. And so you always want to put together a good broadcast, and it always helps when you have a good football game and a good football team, and that's been the case the past 2 years with being the voice of the Iowa Barnstormers.
Yeah, and it's something that we're going to talk about. And one thing I got to say, I have to give you props in person over the show right now, because I know that I mentioned it on Facebook, but seriously, your call on that touchdown when you were in Arizona, Barnstormers against the Rattlers. I mean, you had it all. It was the big guy getting the touchdown. You had shades of Chris Berman with the rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, and then you had your own signature Joe Stacey flair on the end of it. I mean, it was a beautiful call, and I'm listening at home. I've got my app open on my phone. TV's on mute. I see the play, because there's a slight delay between the what's broadcast on YouTube and on the phone. And then I hear your call, and I was like, man, that is the perfect call for this type of play and situation. So I don't think that our confidence in you is misplaced whatsoever. But Coach Dixie Wooten obviously has stated that he believes that this is the Barnstormers' year. John Pettit last week went so far as to say that the only thing that this franchise has not given its fans is a championship. And the Barnstormers well on their way to not only being in a championship, but hosting their own championship. What is Joe Stacey's thoughts on the 2018 Iowa Barnstormers?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, when you return, the 2017 Indoor Football League Coach of the Year with, the majority or the inner core of the coaching staff intact, and Dixie Wooten, of course, our defensive coordinator, Marcus Coleman, 11-year veteran with in the NFL with the New York Jets and Houston Texans and Dallas Cowboys. He's led our defense to the number one defense in the league, and scoring defense and total defense and rushing yards allowed. So, the defensive side of the ball just feeds off of his leadership and hinge on every word he says. And Malcolm Nelson, our defensive line coach and special teams coach, he's kind of the guru of that defense and really keeps everybody in line. And a young man by the name of Curtis Chin, who is known throughout the IFL, he's stepped in and taken over from Michael Custer for this year. I don't know what the future holds. Who does, for that matter, for anybody. But Curtis Chin, and Dixie Wooten, he brought this team in after last year forming this team, and he kept 7 to 8 pieces of it from the first year, which you could really be nervous as an organization after going 13-4, making it all the way to the conference championship game, one game away from the United Bowl, and all of a sudden you got a fairly new team. But it's the way that they come in camp ready to play. They Coach Wooten and the rest of the staff don't have to coach expectations, effort. They're here. They're committed. They know what Dixie Wooten is looking for, and it's work ethic, and it's wanting to get to the next level. And if you don't have that want to, a lot of people say I don't care what you know until I know you care. That's a lot of what's going on right now with the Iowa Barnstormer family. So to be 9-2 and on top of the IFL and with 2 wins over Arizona, 3 games to play, 1 against Arizona, 1 against Sioux Falls, and 1 against Cedar Rapids to end the season. I don't know how you would ever write it up any better to finish off a season and be able to control our own destiny. And Arizona coming to town, we've beaten them 3 times since they've joined the IFL, and 3 times, since they've joined the IFL, twice this season. So it's going to be a tough task this Saturday they come to town. So a lot left to do. I'm not wearing a ring yet, and nobody in the Iowa Barnstormer organization has hoisted any trophy as far as I know yet.
Yeah, and I know that this is the type of sport, the type of league where you don't want to feel good about consolation prizes. Coach Dixie Wooten, reigning Coach of the Year, would have rather been, IFL champion coach, and so it's the little things like that.
Oh, for sure.
You can look at everything that the Barnstormers have accomplished, controlling their own destiny, which is something that they did not do last year. There was a few games that escaped them, but they were playing behind the 8 ball after their great run, and they could have been set up in a lot better position. So obviously they're righting those wrongs this year. They've done stuff for the first time in their history of their franchise, which was beat the Sioux Falls Storm, and not only did they do that, they did that in Sioux Falls. They have beat the defending champions, the Arizona Rattlers, twice, and they will host them a third time. If they win this week, it's pretty much the stage is set as far as the postseason goes. Not that you want to take the next couple of games off by any means, but it certainly makes you feel good about your place going into the postseason. Has anything about this season surprised you? Like, have you looked at it and you're just like, wow, I can't believe it?
It has gone so quick. It flies by, even with three bye weeks in there for each team, and it is one of those deals where it's nice to have the expectations where they're at right now, and they're being met and exceeded. And so, obviously, Dixie Wooten's team never looks past any squad. They don't play like that. That's not their philosophy. Green Bay came in this week and we punched it. They again, for some reason, they got off to a good start defensively on us, but we punched them in the mouth and corralled things and held them to no points in the first half. But just how quick the season goes once it gets going, and then all of a sudden, you think, holy smokes, by this time of the year we should be 9-2. Well, guess what? We are, and now the real hard work, digs in, and 6-game win streak, Arizona in town, then on the road to Sioux Falls. These 2 weeks are going to determine a lot about the Iowa Barnstormers postseason, and ultimately how the season will go down in the year in the IFL.
Have you called a championship before for any other league or sport?
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of high school stuff. I started doing this, Richard, back in 1991, and took a little hiatus. I've been doing it ever since. Every year I've covered high school and college and pro, if you thrown in the Iowa Barnstormers since 2008. But a lot of high school championships I've done. High school football, basketball, baseball. In my early career from 95 to about 2001, I probably, holy smokes, I was cracking the mic almost 150 nights a year, which is a lot. If you're covering, most sports, and that's how I kind of developed a passion for it. But I've never called a professional championship. The last playoff game I called was last year with the Iowa Barnstormers against Sioux Falls, and then I called one in 2000, a couple of them in 2009 when the Iowa Barnstormers were in the AF2 and advanced all the way to the semifinals.
I don't know if you are still the kind of person that gets butterflies or giddy before a broadcast or during one, but do you feel like if you got the opportunity to actually call a championship at this level for the Barnstormers, for the team and franchise that is so well, the fans respect you so much and hold you in such high regard, do you think that it would give you that giddy butterfly feeling again?
Oh, of course. Well, I get that every broadcast, Richard. I truly do. I've always told people that I think, people come in visit my press box, and you've seen it. I've got things taped up on the wall that looks like Joe Stacey wallpaper with all the, the promo reads and the stats and the roster information and the schedules and the media capsules brought out by the IFL and the standings and the stats and things like that. So, I would love to. Yes, and it would be something that I would probably, devote 2 or 3 days prep, and hopefully I get that opportunity, because that would mean I have an opportunity to actually take home some hardware and just to be part of the team, and that would be something else. That's why we all have our eyes on the prize, and nothing short of having a real shot at that championship game, and how cool would it be if I didn't have to travel to attain that and just win it right here in Des Moines at Wells Fargo Arena.
Well, I do know that if you guys do make it, if it is home or away, if you're in that championship game, that there's going to be no better voice on the call than you. And I know that if you guys have to play the championship outside of Des Moines, you travel solo. You don't have a color guy. And let me just say, I know a guy who is looking for an opportunity to be of some sort of contribution on that level. I could put in a good word for you if that should be the case this season. I'm just saying.
I love it. And if it were my call, I would say on board. And of course, we all know the all the decisions run through John Pettit's desk. So,
Yeah.
and that has a lot of good to it, because you don't want me making a lot of decisions, to tell you that much.
Well, wherever it is, Des Moines, Arizona, the Rattlers, the Storm, the Barnstormers, whatever it pans out. If the Barnstormers are in it, and if it's home or away, I look forward to seeing you up in that broadcast booth. I will definitely stop by. Hopefully, we can get together before and after the game, because I think it's going to be a very, very monumentous occasion all around.
Well, I don't want to jinx anything here, but we still haven't done anything. We haven't even, that's why this ball game this weekend is so important, because again, then we turn around and play Sioux Falls, and so that number 1 seed is very important, because that number 1 seed is going to play Nebraska, which they're a 4-8 team. I'm not saying they can't win. They've got a new coaching staff. They rally around the flag at this point, but I think their organization's hanging by a thread a little bit as far as personnel. I'm sure that organization is going to bounce back strong, but that number 1 seed is very, very important. And even then, there's no guarantees, because as you know, once playoff football starts, both teams are 0-0, and everybody's going to be scraping and scratching trying to get to that championship game. So,
hey, that's
if
why
we make it, then we can start celebrating.
That's why I always say if. I mean, it's obviously a very good scenario for you guys there, a fan base and a franchise that is, in my mind, long overdue, well deserving of such an occasion, whether it's home or away. But yes, if the Barnstormers should be so gracious as to defeat the rest of the teams needed and the rest of the games for the season to make it to that point, yes, it would be incredible. But of course, there are 3 games left on the season, most important of which is probably this next weekend. But even then, the next game is then the most important game, because
Falls.
Arizona would have the better record, but there's no guarantee that they would win one of their last games. And of course, you've got Sioux Falls there. So if you win that, you have a tie record again, and you hold the tiebreaker over Arizona and Sioux Falls. So, yeah, there's a lot of ifs to play out, and I think it's going to be very exciting.
If ifs and buts for candy and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I had wisdom from my father, which there wasn't a whole lot of that either. But anyway, thanks for having me on, Richard. I appreciate it. Keep on doing the job you're doing, and we look forward to I hope I see you again soon, because that would mean I'd see you in the United Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hope for the best. And Joe, always a pleasure, my friend. I feel confident calling you that at this point. You're a good friend, Joe.
Yes.
And you keep calling the game. You just do your thing, Joe. All right, you're the best. All right.
and you do the same. And thanks for the kind words. And continue with your dream of chasing down this broadcasting stuff. You do a fine job.
Well, I appreciate that, Joe. Tell the family I said hello, and you take care. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Richard. Have a good one.
You too. That was Joe Stacey, the voice of the Iowa Barnstormers. Went over about 2 minutes of his allotted time, but that's okay. I'm sure if he needs me to apologize to his wife, I'm more than happy to do that, because I feel bad. I really do. I didn't mean to start late. I'm in school. My teacher called me with 20 minutes before the broadcast was supposed to start. We were talking about my grades and stuff, and she's not worried about me. It was just that going into the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, I have set my own personal bar. And for me, that bar is high, because I know how close I was to being honor roll and honor cords at graduation when I was at the Falls for my AA in business management. And it was something that if you knew high school and early Eastern Washington University college years me, you'd know, yeah, that's a really high bar. Honor roll, you should set your sights to you want to get an A in at least 2 of your classes, not all of them, but a couple, maybe band, art. So it seemed unachievable. And this year, when I got accepted, when I went in to start it, and with all the chaos that ensued as far as my start date getting pushed back, I have a very high bar, high standard set for myself, and I intend to crush it. I do. So we were talking, it went over the start time by about 5 minutes. Jose came on. We were on schedule. Talked for about 3 minutes more. Joe Stacey came on. Hey, I got about 15. That was about 16, 17. So my apologies to Joe and his family if I interfered with any plans that they had tonight. Hopefully nothing important was missed. But I'm just privileged and pleasure for someone to give me the time, time of day to talk. BattleBots Episode 3 was awesome. Bite Force is a force to be reckoned with, if I might say so myself. Tomorrow night, we have Mr. Kurt, and whose last name I'm not too sure on how to pronounce, but we'll figure it out. He is the mastermind behind Axe Backwards, who they ran into some trouble in Episode 3, and then I'm going to reach out to Jameson Go. He is a true heel, and he said some in the BattleBots group on Facebook saying, wow, they portrayed me like a jerk, and that's how I feel about Ray Billings. Everybody makes him out to be the heel. Super nice guy. But no, I love this aspect to it. I just hope people don't take it too seriously. So we'll give Mr. Go a chance we'll give him a go on the fan show, and I don't mean to rhyme. Sooner than later, we'll talk to him, as well as there's so many other builders and bots out there to talk about and get their thoughts. We still got recorded my video segments from when I was down there for the tapings. Those interviews, those are going to be awesome. So excited for those. Zach Werchek of Elephant Gun Riot been working hard to master those for me, add some graphics, a little bit of flair. He works for a local news station. Why not? Be like, hey, dude, can you do this for me? Yeah, I don't see why not. Sweet. So BattleBots Episode 3 of Season 3 was awesome. And I think we're going to have a dark horse to really win it all, but there's still plenty of season left. Obviously, Ray Billings and Tombstone, undefeated after they faced probably the toughest opponent out of any of the other matchups on the fight card. And that's not a knock against anybody. I just think that when you think of like the top two best BattleBots, you think Minotaur and Tombstone. So we'll have new power rankings tomorrow, a new top 10 tomorrow. Very excited for tomorrow's just tomorrow in general, tomorrow's episode. Sad news though, WBLZ is signing off for good. They have decided to close up shop. Comes very unexpected, very abrupt, but it is for reasons that have yet to be explained to me. So I was going to play the summer block one last time here, but at this point, it's like we may as well just let sleeping dogs lie and move on to better things. And that is the mentality from a lot of us that were part of the WBLZ sports family. I've already been talking with my guys at 8-Bit Bros and seeing if there's something they want to collab on. I got invited to their new network, so we'll see how that pans out. But I do want to thank Chad and the rest of the guys at WBLZ Sports. It was a great ride. I felt very privileged to be on that platform. And for those of you that downloaded the app, thank you. For those of you that listened to the fan show on replay, thank you. And for those of you that helped keep the football and nonsense going, a big thank you. And that'll do it for this episode of The Fan Show. Don't forget to check out Undisputed Belts for all your custom belt making needs, whether it be a fantasy league, professional league, sibling rivalry, or just friendly office bet. They have a belt for you. So, Undisputed Belts, they are the guys to go to. I know that's why I put their logo on my freaking backdrop. It's because Fan Show Player of the Game is always brought to you by Undisputed Belts. So those guys are the best. Look forward to working with them for many years to come. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, same fan show time, same fan show place tomorrow. Best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the fan show.